cards which you guys have not yet seen. We have got, well, you've just seen this one, Bandit Lord. So, this is card 375, bottom right corner. It's a free cost, so this big orange number here is a free cost. This basically means you need to pay 3 charges to get this card out. It's a 4 attack and a 3 health. Now, free cost. By default, it should have 3 attack and 3 health. Because it's a rare unit, these stats can vary a little bit to a lot. So we've got 4 attack, which is higher than average. It requires a 2 to roll, so basically when it enters combat, you need to roll a 2 or higher. And it can counter attack, which is what this little shield icon is. Underneath its name, it's got its class and its subclass. Above its name, it's got the colours of this card, which basically means this card can only go in a black or red or rainbow coloured deck. Core, should I say. And the cool thing about this is it's got an active ability which basically says whenever this unit deals damage to the enemy core, that player discards the top card of their deck. Nice and simple, the way Ravkos is meant to be. I literally made this card at the time of making this video, so let's see how this one turns out. For a free cost, if you can get that on turn 1, that could be quite deadly for your opponent. Going back, we've got Omega Mage. So Omega Mage was in the original Ravkos 1, however she was not an actual card what you could get off a Gamecrafter in a random booster pack. Omega Mage was a special edition card which basically I was meant to dish out to people who I met in person. So if anybody's got this, it's going to be extremely rare for the original version to be seen in play. However, her artwork, as with everything else in version 2.7, all the artwork has come back. Most of the artwork, should I say, a good handful, should I say. And basically, Omega Mage has returned, and she is a big, chunky 6-cost unit. Obviously, Omega is another word for the end of things. You got the alpha at the start and the omega at the end. She goes in the black or blue deck, and she's got 6 attack, slightly lower health this one though, more so because of her ability, which is pretty ruthless. Once per turn you may remove 5 different mono-coloured cards from your dead zone, which is another word for your discard pile or your graveyard. If you do choose one, deal 3 damage to your opponent. Now that's a big chunk of health. I think this is probably the card with the biggest figure to actually go bang straight on your opponent's core. Or deal 5 damage to any unit, so you can target a pretty big enemy unit that's in play with this card. Or if you really needed to get rid of something out of your way, such as, let's say you've got a better defensive card in your hand, you could use this card to destroy your own defensive unit so that you could play a better defensive unit. Or draw 5 cards. Now, at the time of this video, this card is not actually released yet, as with everything 2.7 related. So, a bit of playtesting with this card. However, she is pretty monster unit for a mage. Then we're moving on to Gaia's Sprout. Now, this is it's a wonder card. However, it's got an ability that's never been seen before in Ravkos 1, and it basically says, if this is in your opening hand, you may lose all your charges and put this card straight into play. And it says, at the start of your next 3 turns, you may draw an extra card, or charge your core an extra turn. After the 3rd turn ends, destroy this card. So there's a lot of good things going on with this card. Basically, the only downside is you start the game with no charges. However, you will earn your 1 charge at the start of your 1st turn if you go first. If you go second, your core will still generate its original 2 charges. So, at the start of your next 3 turns, you can use a die or something like that, or counter something, just to count the 3 turns if you really needed to, if you're struggling managing your turns. But basically, you get to draw a card, or you charge your core an extra time. So if your deck contains a lot of low cost cards, you would probably go for the card draw. The charge your core would come in useful because you're kind of sacrificing your early charges to gain a 3rd charge for your next 3 turns. So don't forget, at the start of every turn your core will generate 2 charges regardless. So Gaia's Sprout will actually generate you a 3rd charge for 3 turns. So, you know, if you went first you would lose 2, but ultimately you would gain a 3rd over the duration of 3 turns. And the other good thing about this wonder, which you don't see a lot on wonder cards, is at the end of the third turn, destroy this card. So wonders typically sit off to the side. They give you a permanent effect until that wonder is destroyed, but there's not many ways to destroy wonder cards. So it's nice to start seeing wonder cards which have a self-destroy ability so that you could play a better wonder card later on in the game. Firebending Mage. So, a 4-cost assault unit. She has a whopping 5 attack, but only 3 health. So instead of her attack and health kind of being level, like I mentioned earlier, we've got one higher and one a little bit lower. Obviously, she does look in the picture pretty fragile, so that's another reason for her to have a little bit more health reduced. But obviously, she is dealing with fire elements, so she gains a nice attack buff. Slightly disadvantage is, on average, a unit requires a 2 to hit. Most of the units in the game. This unit only requires a 3 or better, so it's slightly a little bit less chance of hitting in battle, but when she does hit, she actually spits out quite a lot of 5 damage towards an enemy unit. Now, the good thing about this is she has a permanent ability, which you don't see very often. This unit cannot be damaged by red action or battle cards. That's for both players. So if your opponent tries to fireball this unit, or if you try to kill it off yourself, no effect. She's basically attuned to the fire element, and she cannot be damaged by red action or battle cards. She's got a secondary ability that says, up to twice per turn, whenever any player plays a red action card, this unit gains 1 health for the rest of the turn. So it's not a massive ability, but if you're playing against a burn deck, you know, it could pump her to 5 health if your opponent doesn't target her first. Pardon me. So she could ultimately become 5/5 for a 4 cost with a nice red shield around her as well. So that's a pretty nice unit, and I don't think this card art so much playing the original game as well, so it's nice to see this returning. And the X-Glare for this is very nice as well. Moving on, Naya's Descent. Now, Naya was a mage sister, aka a daughter to Rhaenys. There was 6 of them. This is a battle card for 4 cost, so it's a pretty expensive card for a battle card. You don't see, well, you do see some in play, but they're mostly attack and health buffs to catch your opponent off guard. So it says, if any unit dies this battle, draw 2 cards. You could do that anyway. You don't have to have Naya in play for that. Secondly, if you had a unit enter play this turn called Naya the Grim Mage, she gains 2 attack for the battle phase. So obviously, it's in the name. You want to play Naya and this card. How are you going to do that? Well, I'll leave that up to you guys to work out. If you attack with Naya Grim Mage this battle, and she dies, deal 1 damage to your opponent. This could be a win condition if the game is late, and let's say you're both players are relatively low on health, or even better, if your opponent is on 1 health left, you could attack with Naya against a Rhaenys or something like that. Rhaenys, oh, well, that's a bit hard saying Rhaenys because it's a dad, but a Neon then, let's say. Let's say Neon swings, retaliates with Naya, and she dies. Then that could be that 1 poke of damage, enough for you to win the game. So that would be a pretty funny win condition. Next up, Backfire. I love the artwork on this one. It's very vibrant, and it reflects pretty well with the blue and the white of the mage in the foreground. So basically, this is a counter spell for 3 cost. Usually counter spells in this game cost about 1 or 2. So because it's a 3 cost, it has a few extra effects. Firstly, the enemy action response card has no effects. That's basically a long-winded word for saying counter the spell. Deal 1 damage to the enemy core. Yes, 1 damage for a 3 cost. Now, this is obviously a response card and nothing else, so this can only be played when your opponent plays an action or battle card. Or response card. If the countered card was red, deal 2 damage to their core instead. So this is a very anti-burn card. So yeah, a bit of mayhem for the red players in the game. Fey Guardian. So this is a 5 cost. She has 6 attack and 4 health, very similar to the Firebending Mage. You know, she can spit out, she can deal a lot of damage, but obviously in the artwork they are pretty fragile characters. She can go in a red and green deck. Whenever this unit kills an enemy unit in battle, you may return a response or a battle card from your dead zone back to your hand. Dun. Or even worse, that thing.
Yes!
So yes, the only tricky thing with this is this Fey Guardian is red-green. To return the new backfire, obviously you need a red. This is red. Naya's Descent is black. The only real way you're going to get all these into a deck is by using a multicoloured or rainbow-coloured deck, like the Beta Core or the Dead Core, which will allow any colour in the deck. Core of Souls. I don't think you guys have seen this one yet. So basically, core is your life. You have 10 life. When you lose 10 life, you lose the game. Cores have a requirement and an ability. So once you've met the requirement, you get to activate your core's main ability. So whenever 10 units die in battle, regardless of their owner. So 10 units die regardless of owner. Once that happens, during your main phase, you can return 1 unit card from your dead zone back to your hand. So it's a bit like a revival core. You can only use it once per turn, but let's say you've lost your Rhaenys or a powerful royalty rare unit, you can get that card back in your hand just for 10 dead units in the game. Core of Royalty. Now this is in the name. It is a red-white core. So you can only have red and white colours in this deck. The requirement for this core is once you have played 2 royalty rare cards. Now, royalty rare cards are your big, massive cards, which typically cost a lot to get out. However, you can only have 2 in your deck, and they must be 2 unique cards. You cannot have 2 of the same royalty rare cards because of how powerful these things are. Obviously, you need to draw into them or tutor them out. But once you have played both of your royalty rare cards, you can then use your core's ability on your main phase once per turn, recover 5 HP to your core, draw 5 cards, and charge your core 5 times. So it sounds a lot because it's very 5/5/5 heavy. However, you need to have found and played both of your royalty rare units to be able to utilise this core to its full extent. Arena Champion. So this is quite a heavy cost card. It's a 5 cost. It's got 6 attack and 4 HP. It only needs a 2 to hit, which is good, and it can counter attack. It can go in a green, red and white deck, and instead of it being a knight class, this is actually a new class which is called a champion class. So we might see more like arena cards and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It says, whenever this unit kills an enemy unit in battle, put a marker on this card. A marker can be anything. It can be a little die, one of the little cube things you use to charge a core with, anything at all. A little whiteboard marker or anything like that. Once this unit has a marker, all your human class units cost 1 less. So basically he kills someone, he cheers, and all your human units get to cost that little bit cheaper to get into play. Mountain Passageways. So this is a defensive unit. Now, it used to be a special terrain back in Wrath of Kors one day. So it's got a lot of text, so let me explain it to you. Once per turn, whenever your opponent attacks one of your units directly above this unit, you may untarget it. Your opponent may choose a different target to attack or end the battle. So the easiest way to explain this is to say, let's say you're attacking me and I have Mountain Passageways in my defensive slots. So the 2 units above it, you'll have a reinforce and an assault unit above it. If you try to swing for my assault unit or my reinforce unit while I've got Mountain Passageways in play, I can basically retreat that unit so he can scurry off and run into the passageways of these mountains. That will then leave your assault card. So basically what it does is it forces the opponent to change the target to attack. Now obviously you can do this once per turn, so let's say I've got a Rhaenys out and you somehow have managed to have got a card out which can kill Rhaenys. You go to swing for it, I can basically scurry Rhaenys back into these mountains, and then you've got to choose a different card to attack. So it's not a bad little card because it can trigger once per turn, so turn after turn after turn after turn. I can keep doing that until you destroy the Mountain Passageways. So it's a nice card, a lot of text, but it's quite easy to understand. Eyes of Hell. This was again, it's all artwork from Wrath of Kors 1, and this card artwork actually got a lot of people commenting on it. So it's a red, it only costs 1. and it says once per turn, whenever a unit dies in battle, you may lose 2 life to draw 2 cards and charge your core twice. If you choose not to, destroy this wonder. So, again, it's another wonder which can self-destroy itself if you choose to. But basically, whenever any unit dies anywhere, so you could burn one of your own cards, or you could burn an opponent card or attack and kill it in battle, or something like that. As soon as that unit dies, you get to lose a precious 2 life off your core. So you can only do this up to 5 turns per game, but then you will kill yourself, so let's say 4 turns per game. If you do, however, you get to draw 2 cards, and draw 2 cards and charge your core twice. So again, it's a very early game gamble. You won't want to be playing this late game because obviously you would be very low on health. However, what you could do is, if it's in your hand and you need to get rid of it, you could play it and just do nothing when it dies and let it destroy itself. So it's nice to see wonders coming into play which can fall out of the game so that you can play another wonder late game. Towering Ghoul. Now this is a very unique card. I quite like the design of this card. So it's a free cost. Now look at these for some stats. When I said before the attack and HP were like this thing is like that. It's got 1 attack, so it will struggle to kill a basic unit. However, it's got a whopping 8 health for an assault unit. It says in its rules, up to twice per turn, whenever a unit dies in battle, this unit gains a permanent 1 attack. So there's a lot of cards which so far are relying on units dying, and it gains a permanent 1 attack until it leaves place. So the more units that dies, the more powerful this gets. Basically, the more units it dies, it kind of collects its souls, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, up to a maximum of 10, obviously. So for a free cost, you get this out early game, and just burn your opponent's units. You know, you can get it quite high. Field Warden. So it's a 4 cost. Whenever one of your Night Clash units attacks or counter-attacks, it gains 1 attack and health of a turn. Pretty basic. You know, it's an assault unit, so it's only really gonna affect itself or one of the other 2 assault units in play. But it's a nice little buff as you attack. And then Blue Tip Flames, we have already seen these in a previous video. Anyway guys, the video is getting quite long anyway, so I did want it to be a short video, but I did want to quickly run through some of these cards with you guys anyway. So, if you think of any ideas for these new cards, if you like them, just leave a comment down below. And I pretty much always get back to you guys anyway, so yeah. Anyway guys, I shall see you in my next video. Toodaloo.